こんばんは。元気ですか? I am okay, I guess. Ma, as we would say in Japan. So. It's been a long day. A lot to do today. A lot to do tomorrow. Tomorrow's my absolute last class, which is kind of nice. So at the end of my semester, July 31st tomorrow. We'll see if I get one more July daily vlog in tomorrow, maybe. Can't promise. But yeah, just lots of grading. Lots of students coming at me today. Just frustrating, lazy students who didn't do hardly any of the homework all semester long. Saw their basic preliminary grade minus a few things I still have to add in and realized they were going to fail. And now are like coming and like, oh, Jason, let me do the homework. I don't want to fail. And it's annoying. So it's like, where were you when you didn't do the homework all the semester long? Now you just decide to take to care. But you know, that's, I guess, you know, what part of being a college student is about for some of them. Obviously, I have great students too. Don't let me, you know. I don't want to make it sound like all of my students are lazy. Some of my students are very diligent, do all their homework, great students, etc., etc. Alright, but this vlog is not really going to be about teaching. I've been seeing pictures on Facebook of the new jets in Tokyo. The Group A jets arrived this week. So, omedetou, congratulations to them. I hope their first year in Japan is wonderful. It's going to be about Nihongo. Japanese. The Japanese language. And the measuring stick that I feel like people use Nihongo for that are gaijin, that are gaikokujin, if you want to be more polite, that are foreigners in Japan. And that's because I have a lot of experience on this here interwebs thing. I've been putting up these videos from Japan since late 2006, I think I put up my first one. And I just have, you know, I've seen every kind of comment you can practically see that's directed at a male. Some of the hate and stuff that's directed at female vloggers, oh my god. Luckily I don't get that. But just about everything else I've gotten. And one of the favorite things people like to come at you with, if you're going to make videos in Japan, is, hey, do you speak Japanese? Are you fluent? And I'm not talking about people that are maybe generally interested in your journey to how you got to speak, but they're doing it in kind of a more accusatory way. Like your experience in Japan is somehow not authentic, you know, or rendered less valuable if you don't speak Japanese well. And it's a shame. It's a shame that this kind of is the way that some, especially bitter ALTs who have a bad experience here or whatever, decide that they will, you know, denigrate other ALTs. Well, yeah, sure, but he doesn't speak Japanese, or something like that. And so, you know, you should be prepared for it. You right now, if you want to come to Japan, you speak some level of Japanese, and that might be 0, and that's fine for jet, believe it or not. And some people have a problem with that right there. Some people feel like there should be some language requirement to be a jet. And of course, if you want to do the job of a CIR, there is. But to be an ALT, you don't have to speak any Japanese. And it goes up from there, of course, to, you know, quote-unquote fluent. I really don't think that you can be fluent in a language if you've never lived in the country where that language is spoken. So, if you've never been to Japan, but you've taken 4 years of it in college or something, I'm sure you're awful darn good. But I don't know that I would call you fluent yet until you come over and use it and see it in action and, you know, use it on a daily basis, and etc. But there are jets who come over that are fabulous at Japanese, and I commend them. And there are a lot more programs. I don't know about in the UK and Australia and some other countries, but in America, Japanese certainly is now much more available to take as a high school elective, and in a lot more colleges too, I believe. So, some of it I've talked about before. One of my very, very first vlogs was a vlog called The Myth of Fluency. And this was because the number one question I got when I went back to Japan, when I went back to America the first time, and this was, mind you, in March of 2005, after I'd only lived in Japan for about 7 months. And all kinds of people were like, oh, so are you fluent in Japanese now? Like after 7 months, because when I went to Japan, I'd only studied for a year in college. That was my story back then. I knew hiragana, I knew katakana, I knew your basic aisatsu, your greetings, and, maybe 100 kanji or something, But I was JLPT 4 maybe, if we're going to use that old scale. Now there's 5 levels, so I don't even know it anymore. The JLPT, by the way, is Japanese Language Proficiency Test, which is another thing people are like, Peh, you passed level 2 of JLPT, that doesn't mean anything. They love to say that's not a real world test. There's no there's listening on it. There's no speaking on it, and blah blah blah. And so but be proud, man. If you took one of those, if you took the JLPT, especially like level 2 or level 1, and you passed, you're good at Japanese. I think that's fair enough to say. Whether you're better or blah 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 than this person, who cares? And I guess that's really my point of this whole thing. But yeah, so I would get that question a lot. Are you fluent yet? Oh, I bet you're fluent now. Blah blah blah. And it's just ridiculous. I hate it when people say that. I don't even know where that comment comes from. How can they on earth? So if you come and live in Japan for like a year and you go back, just be prepared for all kinds of people to be like, oh, so you're fluent now? You speak the Japanese pretty well now, I bet, huh? I'm always very, very humble about my Japanese because I don't have a very good grasp of the language. I've talked about this in vlogs before. You can definitely get to a point where you're comfortable. You can get by in daily situations. You can go to the grocery store and to the McDonald's and to the karaoke place and meet a woman and have basic chat about the weather and the baseball team and movies and stuff. And you can kind of hover right there, and the only way you're going to keep going, it's not immersion, it's not listening to the news, it's not being surrounded by Japanese all the time like I am, it's study. It's just plain study. The Jets that I know that have come here and really done a lot with the language in, say, a year or 2 years, studied like madmen. And not the guys drinking and doing the advertising, I mean like crazy people. That's what it comes down to. To learn kanji, to be literate here, to be able to read things in an effective way, you have to just study, flashcards, online things now, there's tons of them, right, where you can get quizzed on kanji. You have to write them. A lot of people say you have to write them, multiple times. It's hard work, and when you're here and you're living and you're like, do I really need to do that? I'm doing okay. I get by. You're either going to be the kind of person who's like, no, I want to know Japanese, or I want to be better, or I want to be proud of being able to read the kanji as it goes by on the karaoke machine or something. Or you're going to be one of those people like, I'm okay. Studying. I'd rather watch the new Modern Family or the latest Walking Dead episode, or I'd rather go out with my friends and have fun than study. But luckily there's a lot of resources out there if you do come to Japan to study for free, correspondence courses. But this is just a huge, huge topic of correspondence that I get. How did you learn Japanese? Where are you now? People always want to quiz me on like what level I am now, but why would you use me as a barometer of your success? You're going to be motivated by your own factors once you get here. I think definitely there is enough online resources now, especially, that you can learn some very basic Japanese without ever having to pay to go to a class or even buy a textbook, and come over here even just in like the 3 months after you get accepted to JET and then you leave on the plane to come to Japan, you can learn some very basic things and say them in a way that's not too embarrassing. My pronunciation is still not very good. And that's just me and my faulty mechanism here that does English pretty well and accents pretty well, but just can't seem to do Japanese. You know, arigato instead of arigato. You know, I mean, I've heard every like slaughter of, you know, yoroshiku onegaishimasu, dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu. I mean, you'll hear it so much that it will become just second nature, and you'll be able to say it somewhat authentically. But when you first come over, and I mean, I've seen Jets butcher that so badly. And so, you know, maybe because they're studying alone and no one's telling them, and Japanese people won't. Japanese people won't tell you. And that's the other thing, that Japanese people, even though it's their language that you're butchering most of the time, or that you're having a hard time saying something in, they will always compliment you. You will get compliments, like when, in the other video, when we were eating in Hiroshima, Mara and I, we went to the okonomiyaki place, and it was just her and I at that place for the longest time. Some other people eventually came. And there was a woman there, a pretty cute girl, who actually made our okonomiyaki, and then the owner, an older man, came. And one of the first things she said to him in Japanese when he came is like, "Oh, here's our two customers. They both speak Japanese really well," you know. And she handed us, of course, English menus. This is something you get all the time. Well, you know, Mara is completely fluent in Japanese. Well, I don't know if she'd say completely fluent, 95% fluent in Japanese. So she flips it. I mean, she has no problem reading the regular menu, and I just know what I want. I don't even need a menu at okonomiyaki. You know, but then, I mean, I started to chat with her a little bit, and told her, you know, oh, well, you know, I don't live in Hiroshima, but I live here, and, you know, I'm a teacher, and, you know, I'm here for the day just to, you know, renew my passport, and we were just chit-chatting, and she was just, you know, kind of blown away by that, and my Japanese is not that good, and then Mara started to talk to her about, you know, making okonomiyaki and blah, 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 and, you know, just flawless Japanese, and you could see she was kind of taken aback, because obviously Hiroshima is a lot of tourists, and most probably speak almost no Japanese. So I'm just saying, don't take your Japanese out and belittle other people because they can't speak. Everybody wants to try and speak and be a little bit better. There's a few Jets that just don't give a fuck, and they know they don't speak it, and they only plan on being here a year or two. And those Jets are kind of annoying because it's like, you know, at least try. But you know, I'm just tired of getting, you know, kind of the you know, okay, let's lay our, you know, dicks down on the table and measure, you know, by how well we speak Japanese kind of thing. And it's the biggest, like, gaijin to gaijin hate thing I see on YouTube amongst people, especially if you're a J-vlogger, is like, you know, how well they speak Japanese, etc., and making fun of someone else because of the way they speak Japanese or the little bit that they do or blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, I'm very fine with where I am. I'd like to get better, just as I was saying. I'd like to, you know, challenge the next level up of the JLPT, which for me would be 2. But I don't know. You know, I come home pretty tired every night, and to think about getting out the flashcards and studying, I think I would need to do it with a person. Another gaijin in town or something that also wants to take the test, and we would motivate each other or something. So yeah, Japanese. Do you need to speak it to be a Jet? No. Does it help you get into Jet? I really don't think so. You get a few extra points in your application, but I don't think it sways the vote one way or the other, to be honest. It might determine where you're placed, because Jets that speak Japanese a little better maybe are put in elementary schools a little bit more, because you need it more at elementary than you do at high school or junior high. But anyway, I want this to be under 15 minutes, so there's my talk today. Thanks for watching in July. Maybe one more tomorrow. If not, I'll do at least one more to wrap up the daily vlogs. I've been having a lot of fun. Peace. Thanks for watching. Arigato. Arigato gozaimasu. See ya.